Hey guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Solo.
Today we're here to address a hater comment.
Hey, Hannah, do they deserve a response?
That was no cough for any reason. Now that I'm coughing, now that I'm laughing.
Stay away, stay away, stay
I'm gonna
away.
keep coughing. Sorry, Seth.
Did they deserve a response?
No, but there is a funny comment that keeps coming up, and it keeps reminding me that we've talked about making this video for a long time. And today we're gonna talk about pastors and where they get their money. Well, actually the comment comes every time we spend a lot of money on something, like we put in a pool, we go to Kenya. What is the comment that we always get 3 or 4 times? Every one of those videos. Or we buy groceries.
Oh, we look happy.
Yeah. It is always that this couple is stealing from the church. These pastors are stealing from the church.
All your people, it's the people's money.
Yes.
Or whatever it is. Oh, yeah.
I watch a vlogger who called Elle Lindquist. I like her channel, but she calls them hate watchers. Some people just just watch to hate. And it's true. There are definitely hate watchers. Solo was just telling me about some hate comments. And we almost never respond to or talk about hate comments. And I don't even see the church stealing, well, the stealing from the church. I mean, that is pretty...
It's a stretch, though.
It's a stretch. But I always see it as coming from people who probably were hurt by a church. And so...
Not always. I think sometimes it could be, but sometimes there are some people that would just hate on anything that is there to hate.
Yeah.
They might not even have any experience. Because to me, I think some of them are so stretched that they have no relation or no connection whatsoever. It's just completely uninformed.
Yeah. We've always been very open about the fact that Solo has a finance business, and you had that way before we were full-time pastoring too.
Yeah, and the other thing that bothers me about that sometimes is because I know so many pastors across that should not have to defend their income.
Yeah.
If they do, there is almost no profession.
Yeah.
That gets, like, they have to almost act. I've met pastors that try awfully hard to not appear as if
like they're getting, as if they're getting paid.
That they're being paid in comparison to their job, because they get attacked by people all the time.
Yeah.
And so they're pastors that don't have an extra income or anything, but they shouldn't have to defend their income. You know,
for us, it's silly when people say that too, because also not only have we been open about that, but we're all on YouTube and we're doing great on YouTube. Like, we make money on YouTube, guys. So we got several sources of income. And
how can you afford 10 kids with a pastor's income? That's another question.
Oh yeah, frequent question. Yes. We have several sources of income. And not only that, but I know so many pastors. In fact, it's hard for me to think of a pastor that does not have a second source of income. A lot of pastors I know of have several sources of income.
Yeah?
A lot of them. I grew up in a pastor's home, and my parents had another business a lot of the time. A lot of the time. So, oh, fussy Seth.
Well, as a pastor, I know pastors of all kinds of size of churches. I know pastors of small churches, I know pastors of medium-sized churches, and pastors of large churches that have a huge profile or very well known. And neither one gets spared by critics that don't know anything.
That's true.
And then, so let me, since we're talking about money before we move on, I gotta defend. If you're a pastor's wife watching over there, you know what I'm talking about.
Pastor's husband,
you know. Or you're in the ministry in any way. I have met so many pastors in person that I know in my own life that they are by far the largest givers financially of their churches. The one pastor I know that has written a lot of books doesn't even take an income from the church, actually gives more money to the church than anybody else, but also gets attacked. You know, so I don't know. You just can't win.
You can't win. You can't win. But we thought we'd give you a little insight into what pastoring actually is. For us, it is the job that we spend, I say job, but it's really a calling. It's not a job, because it is the thing that we spend the most of our time on, and it pays us the least of our income. So pastoring really is a calling, and if you know a pastor or have heard of a pastor or have ever watched us, it is a 24/7 job. Growing up in a pastor's home, I remember many times where the phone would ring in the middle of the night, and if you know that if it rings in the middle of the night, it's not a good thing. Even for us, it's happened several times, like someone's passed away, and so we had just fallen asleep, and now the night is totally changed. Like, off solo goes, and he'll be gone for several hours and come home, and then you have to figure out how to move on with your day, you know? Yeah. It's like you're here for people and you're invested in their lives.
Their whole lives, emotional, spiritually, physically, so it's all...
baby. Seth is in bedtime, he's so tired.
What do you think, Seth? What do you think about this situation?
I have a lot of stories from my childhood that I can think of that really kind of exemplify what a pastor is, and one of them is that when my parents were gone out of town, I think they were out of the country, I'm pretty sure they were in Australia at the time, ministering at a church for some pastor friends of theirs, and my brother and I were in high school, and we were home, and we had a friend of mine staying with us. She was a college student, and her parents lived down the street, so we were all good and safe and everything, but my dad, before he had left town, he and my mom had helped a woman who was being abused. She had been coming to church for not that long, maybe a couple months, and she had come to my parents and told them what was really going on in her home, and they helped her escape with her children and get to a women's shelter. And it was a safe house here in our city. When my parents were gone in Australia, that guy came to our door. He was pounding on the door, and we didn't let him in. The door was locked, but my brother and I were terrified on the other side of the door, and I remember him yelling that he had a gun. We were scared. We were really scared. Yeah. We were really scared. But we actually, before the guy had told us he had a gun, we were already on the phone with my parents. Hey, this guy is at our door. And my parents told us, hang up, call the police, and tell the guy through the door, yell at the guy that you are, they didn't want us by the door, but yell at the guy that you're calling the police. And it was a whole thing. Call us right back, So we did that, and I remember that he left right away and he didn't come back. But I just think now, as a pastor and as a parent, what my parents went through, that's scary. And you're really invested in people's lives. You put your life at risk, and
put that baby on the breast.
Did you see my birth story video? Okay, give me that blanket. Anyway, it's like you're really invested. It's a whole thing. It's a calling, and you're all in. When you're pastoring, you're all in, and so.
Yeah, and the other misconception sometimes is that, hey, you're busy for 1.5 hours or 1 hour on Sunday, and that's the only time you work.
Yeah.
That's such a lie. I was talking to a guy that's was a football coach for college. He was talking about how, they're really busy throughout the year, whether they're recruiting out, looking for new talent, or working and mentoring the student athletes, helping some of them that maybe have failing grades, and so they walk through them getting their academics up on the same side. They're working throughout, but a lot of people think that the guys are just busy for the 12 weeks of football season in the fall. It's like, yeah, sounds a lot like pastoring here.
That's so true. A lot of times pastors that don't have a big staff, they're also the administrator. They are trying to figure out what's going on in the children's and how to clean the building and pay the bills and do all the things. And so pastors have a whole lot on their plate. And when they have a lot of staff, they have staff issues, just like businesses. It's a whole thing. It kind of leads us to our next point is we just want to encourage you to pray for your pastors right now during this whole season and the coronavirus and all that. Because if you think about how businesses are having to change the way they think and do things, how schools, how everybody's kind of having to change the way they do things, churches is no different. I'm sure you've noticed every church is online suddenly. And I think week to week about these pastors that maybe don't already have an online presence or the equipment. There's a lot of pastors around the world that are pastoring small churches and don't have a lot of equipment yet and that kind of thing. And it must be really overwhelming and difficult for them to figure out how to keep that connection with people. They're called to shepherd these people, and how do they stay connected and meet the needs. And they're seeing their congregations losing their jobs and being cut back on hours, and they carry that burden too.
Well, and large churches too, because they have a lot of staff that help maybe with all those things, but the staff also they're also paying people. So, and those people's livelihood is tied to the ministry of the church as well. So they, even though it's a calling and it's a ministry, it also, the operational side is like a business in terms of you still gotta pay bills. I talk to pastors all the time throughout and in our network and all that, so they still have to pay their staff, they still have to pay their buildings, and their operation still goes on.
The light
bills, and many churches and denominations too. I've seen they saw a drop in giving during all this disruption. So they're dealing with everything like everybody else, except that with in addition they carry a spiritual burden, because most pastors that are really called to the ministry, they don't see it as a job, and so they carry the burden of the people. It's a calling. They carry the burden of the people as if it's their own. It's like they carry the church as if it's their own family. And so many of them carry that same weight. When people are losing jobs, they are praying and they are working. When, like Sarah talking about her parents' example, they see abuse in the home and stuff, they step in, just like parents would step in and work. So that is by far the bulk majority. But oftentimes you never hear those things. You would only hear about the one bad. And I say one because in proportion to how many good there are. Yes, there are some crazy, nasty stories that have come out of religious people, out of the ministry people, that you're like, oh my goodness. And they taint a lot, but in the light of the whole thing, it's only a small fraction.
Church hurt is a real thing, and we're not trying to make light of that, but we're also trying to give you another side.
Perspective.
Another perspective.
Yeah, it is annoying, I would say it is annoying when people just make senseless statements that make no sense. They don't even know anything. There is a side of human nature that I think when we don't empathize, sometimes when we don't know much, we judge wrongly. A friend of mine that works with people that are dealing with mental health issues sent me an article about how, don't just judge someone that you see going to the store for something simple and think, that's not essential, or they're not going in. You don't know what that person is actually going through, and you don't know the whole story, And, and it's talking about how he's working with people that are fighting addiction and different things like that. And they might be going to a store for something that is considered non-essential, but that keeps them from going to, So sometimes you don't always know the whole story. Don't be too quick to judge. And for matters that you're not really knowledgeable about, sometimes it's better to just assume the best. And if it's very interesting to you, you could try to maybe seek more knowledge from different perspectives, not just one-sided perspective. Otherwise, sometimes just good to assume the best and leave the rest. Because you just don't know what people are going through. So
some people have been really hurt by people in ministry. I know that some of those comments that we get are from people that specifically were really hurt.
That's true.
But just know that not every pastor is like that, and keep looking for a church family. We would encourage you to keep looking for a church family, because
you will find some really good people in the world that you might never meet.
And community and family, and that's what that's what it is for us. And then also, pastors are not perfect people, and if you go in knowing that, it helps a lot.
And the other thing to add, just from a biblical story, is that Jesus even had a bad pastor in his staff.
Right.
And he was a thief. He stole money. He stole the church's money. So if that happened to Jesus, so it does happen. But he also did have 11 other disciples that were completely committed. A lot of them died for the cause of Christ, for no gain of their own, completely selfless people.
But we are definitely on the team. Pastors should get paid for the work they do. It is a very full-time job.
And they should never have to defend their income. Like I mentioned, the pastor I know that is also well known it's amazing to me because when you know the person and you know actually what they do, and then you see the stories on the internet and you're like, oh my word. And sometimes it's even Christians that actually write nasty things about pastors that they don't know. They really don't know them. They just have a think they know them, but they don't.
Yeah, that's true. Well, rant over.
It's done. I gotta defend all my pastor friends all over.
So sometimes we're asked, are you ever going to just become a full-time YouTuber with me? No. Unless the Lord says, okay, that's enough.
I have a hard time thinking that he would do that.
Talking about like how much work pastoring is, I knew very well how much work pastoring is, and I did not want to marry a pastor. I told the Lord that many times.
Guess what she did?
I married a pastor.
Yeah. Don't ever say never.
Yeah, but I, as a pastor's kid, experienced hurt from people in the church really badly, and that kept me from wanting to pastor, honestly, because I really felt like the church was family, and those men and women were my aunts and uncles and stuff. And so at one point, one of them that was real close to us left, and you know, a lot of times when people leave over something, maybe it's just time for them to move on, they're upset with something or just didn't go right, they can be really cruel sometimes in how they speak about the pastor, that they're leaving the church or whatever, and then the relationships are severed. And in this case, I felt like they were my aunt and uncle. And
I think it probably hurts more because you're so open to the people, and a lot of pastors really literally give their lives to the church. And so when people, and it's okay, people leave for different reasons, but when they actually take and start writing nasty things and saying bad things,
it's so awful.
You know, it can.
And I thought, I am not going into pastoring ever. It's hard. And then at one point when were we already married?
Yeah.
The Lord spoke to me once, and I'm really passionate about orphans, and He used that to speak to me and showed me to see people as foster children in the congregation, like they come and you love them while they're there, and you love them like they're like your own, like not like they're your children, but you know what I mean, like you really love them, and then sometimes they have to leave and you can let them go.
They're God's children anyway.
Yes.
They're not your children,
and it helped me so much. I don't know, it's just what I needed to hear, and it just gave me freedom, and I love it now. I do love it a lot. So, do you love it?
I love it.
You love it. So.
That's awesome.
Anyway, that's for the hate watchers.
No, it's not for the hate watchers.
It's for everyone.
It's for everyone. The hate watchers, I don't even want to give them a time of day.
I just like that phrase. It's funny.
Yeah.
Because you can just see people that hate, like there are people that hate me and watch just to say hateful things. I don't usually see the comments, so solo deletes them.
I delete them. And I always remind her, it's like, oh boy, they're just so few, but they're loud.
They're loud.
But so anyway, you can spare them. You can write the nasty things if you like, but I will delete it.
Alright guys, thanks for watching today. Hope you
guys are awesome. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Time to get this one to bed.
Alright.
We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.